How are you doing, brothers and sisters? Today we're going to be talking about transfers, how we can successfully grieve denials or delays of transfers by management. We're going to be covering three different types: the voluntary reassignment, transfers for CCAs, and mutual exchanges. So, of course, in accordance with our collective bargaining agreement, this is a grievable matter. When the denial of a transfer is grieved, the disputed decision is of the postmaster of the receiving installation. Nevertheless, any grievances concerning the denial of a transfer request must be filed in your office in accordance with Article 15.2. So arbitrators do have the authority even from different regions to order postmasters in another region to accept a transfer request. So does the dispute resolution team, and so do you. You have that same power if you come to resolve it locally in that manner, approving a transfer. Article 12.6, and it reads, installation heads will consider requests for transfers submitted by employees from other installations. That's Part A. Part B, providing a written request for a voluntary transfer has been submitted, a written acknowledgement shall be given in a timely manner. Now, additional reassignment and probationary period provisions regarding city carrier assistance employees are found in Appendix B. So yes, you can submit your transfer request in writing or through e-reassign. Now, the advantage with e-reassign is you get an acknowledgement right away. JCAM 12.6, Section 6, under Transfers, Part A, continues. Installation heads will consider requests for transfers submitted by employees from other installations, and once again, providing a written request for a voluntary transfer had been submitted, a written acknowledgement shall be given in a timely manner. So it repeats itself. Now, regarding transfers, it says the parties agree that the following procedures will be followed when career postal employees request reassignment from postal installations in one geographical area of the country to postal installations in another geographical area. Local reassignments, that is, reassignments within the same MSC division or to adjacent MSC or divisions, are covered by provisions of Section 2 of this memorandum. MSC and divisions are actually referring to districts. So within your district would be a local reassignment. Outside of your district would be reassignment to another geographical area. So there are differences. One being, it is much easier to get a reassignment within your district, in theory, than outside of your district. So basically, there are less considerations that management is obligated to take when a transfer request is within your district. Now, JCAM page 1251 reads as follows. The term local reassignments means reassignments to the same district or to adjacent districts. An important difference between local reassignments and reassignments to another geographical areas concerns the mandatory lock-in periods. The lock-in period for local reassignments is 18 months unless released by the installation head earlier, except in the case of an employee who requests to return to the installation where he or she previously worked. In contrast, the lock-in period for transfers to other geographical areas is 1 year. So there's a difference there, difference in a lock-in period. Or if you want to go back from where you transferred, then there is no lock-in period. However, management is still bound by the same language that transfers will not be unreasonably denied, whether it's local to another geographical area or back to your own installation. In addition, management must still meet the ratio of 1 in 4 or 1 in 6 in residual vacancies being filled by a transfer request or a request for reassignment if there is one. Now that is an obligation, a contractual obligation, which is why it is very effective to file a grievance when management denies or delays your transfer request. Now, what seems to happen a lot of times is somebody puts in a transfer request, and management will not only check the employee's attendance record, their safety record, but they will actually contrive to summarily deny the request. Many of the times it's a blanket policy that for a time management in the district will not allow any transfer requests. Highly, highly grievable, and we can overcome that objection. I've had carriers complain they're getting the runaround, it's unreasonably denied or delayed. Well, I'm here to tell you, brothers and sisters, those of you that are out there just waiting for your transfer to be completed, nothing happens without a grievance or the threat of a grievance being filed. Now, the only reasons management has for denying your transfer request are found on page 1249 of the JCAM. And there it reads, in evaluating transfer requests, managers will give full consideration to the work, attendance, and safety record of all employees who are considered for reassignment. However, local managers may not add additional criteria for accepting transfer requests. For example, a policy of only accepting transfer requests from within the district would be a violation of the memorandum. Evaluations must be fair, valid, and to the point, with unsatisfactory records accurately documented. They must be based upon an examination of the totality of an employee's individual work record. Evaluations based on the application of arbitrary standards, such as a defined minimum sick leave balance, do not meet this criteria. Yes, although management may deny your transfer and provide a letter from a manager stating that due to unacceptable attendance or an unacceptable safety record they are doing this, more is required for management to be able to deny your transfer. An argument we could make, for example, is if the employee hasn't been disciplined, obviously their attendance or their safety record is not unacceptable if they have not been disciplined, see? So both the gaining and losing installation must be fair in their evaluations. Evaluations must be valid and to the point, with unsatisfactory work records accurately documented. Employees must have at least 18 months of service, as we mentioned, in a local transfer, or 12 to another geographical area prior to requesting reassignment to another installation. Therefore, management would be in violation of the following found on page 1226 of the JCAM, which clearly reads, transfer requests from qualified employees will not be unreasonably denied. Now, most of the time in my experience, it is not the gaining or losing postmaster that is putting up a roadblock. No, usually it is somebody at the district, okay, or complement administrative staff that once again is upholding a blanket policy that at this time nobody will be allowed to transfer. They may, for example, write a letter or an email stating that your attendance is unacceptable, your safety record is unacceptable. What can we do? What can we do in that situation? We tie management's hands and put them in a box. How? Well, when there is an actual record of an at-fault accident, a period of 2 years normally must transpire before the safety record is considered acceptable. But at fault, that is the key. Now, normally management doesn't keep good records, safety records of accidents or industrial accidents, so they will not be able to prove that your safety record is unacceptable. We will request all documentation management relies on not to approve the transfer request. Once we receive something or we receive nothing, we will then base our next action on that. Management has to provide this information in a timely manner. Otherwise, they're in violation of the language that says to consider all transfer requests. Now, what constitutes a timely manner? Well, normally I give them no more than 30 days to respond Although in different offices, you might have local grievance settlements of 48 hours or 72 hours. So if you don't receive a response at all, I'm not talking about a document request, but to your transfer within 30 days, please file a grievance. You're going to request to interview that manager, the manager where you are going, or from who the denial request is from. If it's a district employee, in my experience, usually they will not even make themselves available for interview. So you have a due process issue right there. Egregious noncompliance with Article 12 transfer rights. And if you're interviewing your postmaster, they're not going to know the answer. They're just say they don't know why your request is being delayed. So you can go ahead and put that in your file, because it just adds to your argument that management is not being fair in their evaluations. Something to know is that transferred employees are not required to serve another probationary period. So there we've covered voluntary reassignment transfers. And you know what you're going to request, and I'm going to put some templates at the end of this video that you're free to use. What about CCA reassignments? Well, the JCAM reads CCAs may be permanently reassigned from one post office installation to another during their appointment, provided the employee's current appointment is being voluntarily terminated. To avoid a break in service, a permanent reassignment to a different installation must be effected on the first day of a pay period. There is no lock-in period a CCA must satisfy before becoming eligible to reassign to another installation. Eligibility to move between installations is generally intended to address situations where an individual CCA would like to be reassigned to another installation for personal reasons, and there is an agreement between the losing and gaining installation heads. Again, these transfers may not be unreasonably denied or delayed. Another question that comes up is, can management force me to become a PTF again in order to transfer? And the answer to that is absolutely not. As long as it is within the ratio 1:4 or 1:6, depending on the size of your office. Meaning management must allow a transfer upon 3 conversions in offices of 100 or more work years, and a transfer for every 5 conversions in offices of less than 100 work years, formerly man years. And this is found on page 7-18 of the JCAM. So there you have CCA transfers. Finally, the third type of transfer is a mutual exchange. The JCAM reads, mutual exchanges are exchanges of positions in the complement of different installations. Carriers do not exchange actual bid assignments or pay status, since the vacated bid positions must be posted for bidding in accordance with the provisions of Article 41.1 and the applicable
Memorandum of Understanding.
So you do not exchange routes or bids. You exchange positions in the complement. Those routes have to be posted for bid. As Article 41.2e states, seniority is also something that changes. It says Article 41.2e provides that when mutual exchanges are made between letter carriers, the carriers will retain their seniority or shall take the seniority of the other exchangee, whichever is lesser. This is different from the seniority rule in Article 41.2g3, which applies to other transfers, and which requires that the transferring employee begin a new period of seniority. Mutual exchanges, full consideration. The provisions of the transfer memorandum requiring that installation heads afford full consideration to all reassignment requests apply to mutual exchanges just as to any other transfers. Such requests will not be unreasonably denied. In evaluating and responding to mutual exchange requests, installation heads should follow the criteria provided for in the transfer memorandum. So once you have established that the carrier meets the lock-in period, has put in a request, written or electronic, to transfer, and doesn't have an unsatisfactory attendance or safety record, or at least management cannot prove, as we've gone over, cannot prove that they do. Management has denied the transfer or has not responded within 30 days, and you are prepared to argue your case. What will your requested remedy be? So you've pretty much made your case. What will you request? You can request the following. Management will cease and desist from arbitrarily denying transfers in violation of Article 12.6 and the transfer memo. That management will immediately approve the transfer. That management will pay the grievant $10 per day from day 60 of the transfer request until his request is approved. And this is an incentive for management to move on it. Now, the following templates have been proven to be very useful in forcing management to comply with this part of Article 12 and approve transfers. So as you can see, you can force management to approve your transfer. So please use all these resources at your disposal. And once again, don't let management get away with anything. Until next time.